All right, there's a ton of information to cover tonight. Now, we're going to go point by point through the memo. We're going to give you important background information so we can fully explain just how massive this scandal is. Everything that you're going to hear, well, a lot of it should sound familiar because we have been uncovering this piece by piece every single night now for months. We've been way ahead of the curve, but there is new vital information that is even more damning, more damaging than anything we've told you so far. And as we have been explaining, this is Watergate times 1,000. You're about to find out why, and here are the key findings from the memo that we're going to cover in detail. Here's what you need to know. The FBI, deep state officials, they used a Hillary Clinton campaign, bought and paid for dossier that was filled with Russian lies, Russian propaganda, totally unverified, to lie to a foreign intelligence surveillance court to obtain a warrant so they could spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Now, during that FISA warrant process, the FBI, or at least the upper echelon, not the rank and file, repeatedly never told the FISA judges that the phony, salacious dossier was financed by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. In other words, they purposefully omitted crucial information from the FISA court judge so they can continue this process. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Sally Yates, Dana Bente, Rod Rosenstein, they are all complicit in this because they, at different points, they all approved surveillance on Page. Now, this part is shocking. The FBI then used a Yahoo News report that was written by Michael Isikoff from September 23rd, 2016, about a Carter Page trip to Russia as evidence to corroborate information in the phony Russian paid-for dossier. Here's the thing, and this is critically important. The source for the information in the Yahoo News report was none other than Christopher Steele, the same author of the dossier that they were using. So the FBI used Steele's leak to Yahoo to corroborate the dossier created by the same person, Steele. This is what we call circular reporting because the FBI was pretending that they had two sources when, in fact, it was the same source, and they were presenting that to the judge. Now, the memo was also exposing how Christopher Steele, the former British spy that, according to reports, was known to pay Russian sources, had previously worked closely with the FBI, was suspended and then terminated as an FBI source for leaking to the press about his relationship with the Bureau. We also know, independently from the memo, that in September 2016, Steele and Fusion GPS briefed in person, so-called journalists from the New York Times and the Washington Post and Yahoo News and the New Yorker and CNN about the Hillary Clinton phony Russian dossier. And Glenn Simpson testified that both the Clinton campaign and the DNC were well aware about this press outreach. They all knew it was a lie. So in other words, Hillary Clinton wanted the media to run with this total false, fabricated dossier, hoping to lie to the American people and convince you that's a reason to vote for her and not Donald Trump. Now let's get back to the memo. Now, Steele maintained a close relationship with the now demoted Department of Justice official Bruce Orr. Now, remember, Orr is the guy who had an office 4 doors down from Rod Rosenstein and was removed from his position for not disclosing that he met with Fusion GPS both before and after the election. Now, Bruce's wife, well, her name is Nellie Orr. She worked for Fusion GPS. She was hired to dig up dirt on Donald Trump for the dossier. And Orr also revealed that during September 2016, Steele said he was, quote, desperate, this is Steele, that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being president. I thought we didn't like outsiders influencing our elections. Now, according to the memo, none of this was disclosed to the FISA court, which is a massive problem. I can't wait to hear from the FISA judge. And this also points out in the memo that during the initial application for the FISA warrant, the head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division said the corroboration of the Steele dossier was, quote, in its infancy. In other words, that means the FBI never corroborated any of this, but they still presented it to a FISA court to get a warrant to spy on an opposition candidate when one candidate paid for those lies. And this is the part that is massive. The memo explains how former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe testified before the House Intelligence Committee that the FISA warrant to spy would not have been approved without the dossier. So when you put all of this information together, here's what it all means. The FBI misled and purposely deceived a federal court while using an unverified, completely phony opposition research bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton to spy on an opposition campaign during a presidential election, all to help one candidate out, all to mislead the American people. Now, that type of abuse of power, that type of corruption, that shredding of the Constitution, it is unprecedented in American history. Now, the FISA laws, which are all about your government spying on American people, they have been abused and literally to surveil on an opposition campaign to undermine later a duly elected president. We have never, ever in history seen anything like this. And it was spearheaded not by rank and file members of the FBI intelligence community and Department of Justice. No, high-ranking officials. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, likely Loretta Lynch. And we can also tell you tonight many others we will be learning about in coming days. Many will be implicated in this. But here's the bottom line. Crimes have been committed. There is no way that they did not know that the FBI was lying to a FISA court in order to spy on an opposition campaign during an election year. They have aided and abetted what is a massive constitutional violation. Comey, McCabe, Rosenstein, and others all need to be investigated and, in many cases, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because these crimes have been committed. Remember, Comey testified under oath. The dossier was salacious and unverified. Remember, he told that to Donald Trump when he was the president-elect. If that's the case, then why the hell did he use it 2 months earlier to get a FISA warrant? Now, of course, Comey is running scared. He's out of his mind right now that he is exposed with this memo. He actually tweeted out today, that's it. Dishonest, misleading memo, wrecked the House Intel Committee, destroyed trust with intelligence community, damaged relationship with the FISA court, and inexcusably exposed classified investigation of an American citizen for what? DOJ and FBI must keep doing their jobs. Here's the problem. The only thing that was dishonest and misleading in this was Jim Comey. And as I said last night, Jim, you might want to keep your mouth shut because anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. And you do have the right to an attorney. And speaking of Rosenstein, now remember, this is the guy that appointed the special counsel. Because remember, the attorney general recused himself. He appointed Robert Mueller. He should now resign immediately because his actions now prove he is incapable of honestly serving the American people as the deputy attorney general. And here's another massive revelation that I want you to think about. The entire foundation of what we've now have gone through, this mess for a year, no evidence, Trump, Russia, collusion, the special counsel, it's been built on lies and built on a phony fake news dossier that was funded by Hillary Clinton. Now that the FBI then used that to target then the Trump campaign, then an incoming president. Now, if this never happened, there would be no Robert Mueller. And these revelations are so profound, this corruption so deep, it is so obvious that the special counsel needs to be shut down immediately. And that's not even taking into account Mueller's massive conflicts of interest himself and how his team is filled with, big Democratic donors and people like Andrew Weissman that withhold exculpatory information in cases and gets overturned 9-0 in the Supreme Court, sends people to jail, overturned, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Mueller's investigation is and has been a witch hunt from the very beginning. It's built on a house of cards, and tonight it is crashing down. Look, if we as a country, if we care about the Constitution, if we believe in civil liberties, if we believe in those protections, then the special counsel must be disbanded immediately. And by the way, nobody else will say this, all charges against Paul Manafort and General Michael Flynn need to be dropped. It's that simple. President Trump, by the way, is reacting to all this breaking news. Now, here's what he said about the memo. Take a look.
I think it's terrible. You want to know the truth? I think it's a disgrace. What's going on in this country, I think it's a disgrace. The memo was sent to Congress. It was declassified. Congress will do whatever they're going to do. But I think it's a disgrace what's happening in our country. And when you look at that and you see that and so many other things, what's going on, a lot of people should be ashamed of themselves, and much worse than that. So I sent it over to Congress. They will do what they're going to do. Whatever they do is fine. It was declassified. And let's see what happens. But a lot of people should be ashamed.
More than ashamed. A lot of people broke the law. It's more than a shame. This is so deep in its corruption, it should shatter the conscience of law-abiding American citizens. Now, Fox News is also reporting tonight that the memo is being sent to the Department of Justice and the Inspector General, which could, in fact, lead eventually to criminal charges. We have also been reporting that this memo, believe it or not, is only about 15% of what's coming. This scandal is only in phase one. Now, Congressman Devin Nunes, he told Bret Baier tonight that more memos are coming. Stay tuned, tick-tock. And also tonight, now that this memo has been released, look, we've been telling you about this for a very long time. It was March of last year when we first reported that there was a FISA warrant on Trump Tower. Everything that we have been talking about and uncovering for a year on this program is now being shown to be true and exposed. In the meantime, all this while, the liberal mainstream media, they have wasted an entire year holding this country hostage with a false narrative based on a conspiracy theory that President Trump colluded with the Russians. They have and have had no evidence whatsoever because it doesn't exist. The media has been corrupt and lying to you, the American people. At the end of the day, they're nothing but propagandists, an extension of the Democratic Party, and tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists that are so pathologically locked into their hate of President Trump, they don't know any better at this point. All the information we have been reporting now on this has been out there. But you have overpaid journalists, just too lazy, too rigidly ideological to do their jobs. They've been sitting on the sidelines while the biggest scandal in their lifetimes has been unfolding right before their very faces. Now, we've been talking about this issue, FISA abuse, spying on the Trump campaign, since March 6th of last year, and the media has ignored it every step of the way. Here's what I said that day back on my radio show in March of last year.
This is the swamp. Obama holdovers, lifelong bureaucrats that are sabotaging. This is the shadow government I've been talking about. This is what deep state means. They are sabotaging the Trump presidency. A cardinal rule of the Obama administration was no White House official ever interfered with an independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. That's not a denial that it happened, meaning the FISA court requests. And it says that as a matter of practice, neither the president nor any White House official ever ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion others, they didn't order it. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that doesn't mean Obama didn't know that it happened.
We've known the whole time we were right. We've taken a lot of heat for telling the truth. But the evidence, the facts, the truth, that's what we should pursue. It's all there. It's been there. The media doesn't care about any of this. They want President Trump to fail. Otherwise, they would be reporting on this story instead of ignoring it. And now, by the way, they're doing everything they can do to try and discredit it. It's not going to work. Now, here's the thing. Facts are facts. Truth is truth. The media cannot twist and distort truth. And you, the American people, and those of you that have supported this show, we thank you tonight because you, in part, have made this possible. You called your congressmen and congresswomen. You asked them to release the memo, and they did. And sadly, it does shock the conscience.